Welcome to Synchronicity. My guest this week is Ramin Nazer. I don't got to say nothing about him. You know who he is. He does the arts, he does the podcasts, he does the fun stuff, he does the music. He's a cool guy. I'm looking forward to I've met Ramin many times. Seeing Ramin again in person, I'll probably have to go to LA to make that happen. Ramin, come to New York. It's fun here. There's only a smattering of Omicron left. I don't know. COVID. We talk about a little COVID stuff, not too much. Fun podcast. Before we get to it, big shout out to the guys at Ned. Ned, guys, I haven't invoiced you for anything. I'm just giving them free promo because their shit is awesome. Excuse me. I will say their sleep aid, their CBD sleep aid, their full spectrum hemp oil, and their lip balm, their CBD lip balm are all products I actually use. I legitimately turn to and use those things when I feel like I need them. It's not part of the pitch. I could just hawk this shit and never use it and say I did, but I really do, and it's good stuff, and those guys are awesome. Go to helloned.com, use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C, at checkout. You get 15% off your order whenever you order. That's pretty cool. helloned.com, use the code SYNC, S-Y-N-C, at checkout, 15% off your order. Love those guys. Great episode here. I'm not going to ramble on too much in the beginning. It speaks for itself. I'm going on Ramin's podcast, Rainbow Brain Skull, later this week. Go check out the podcast he does with Shane Moss, Mind Under Pod. Tremendous. I should probably listen to more. I enjoy Shane yelling about COVID stuff on Twitter. It's entertaining for me. Ramin, though, obviously one of the coolest people you'll ever meet. His perspectives, his ideas, his thoughts, are what's the term I'm looking for? What is it? Something of fresh breath air? What am I trying to say? Breath of fresh air. There it is. That's what it is. He's just fun and cool and light. And I like people who don't take things too seriously. That's my kind of people, and that's certainly Ramin. So I think you will enjoy this episode. I'm sure you will if you're listening to this and you're seeing who the guest is. I'll be doing a solo episode in the coming week or so about letting go. Ooh, letting go. What a motherfucker. But it's good to do. Also, guys, make sure you're taking care of yourself. I let myself slip on the exercising and eating well. It doesn't mean you have to eat well all the time. It doesn't mean you have to exercise all the time, but establish some type of routine. Here's how I know shit's real. If I can suss out or be aware of any form of depression or negative thoughts or stickiness, I know a lot of you are feeling it strong. And I luckily have an amazing support system and myself, and I'm naturally adept at kind of being aware of those thoughts and not staying in them. But I know the shit's out there. I know shit is funky. I get it. It's cool. It's all good. We're gonna be fine. All right. Without further ado, here is Ramin Nazer. We can start it after, but I feel like I've been in my mid to late 30s forever. Yeah. I don't remember a time when this wasn't I don't know, people life moves fast, and it does. A lot of shit happens, but I feel like I've been stuck between 35 and going to be 39 next year. It doesn't. When is 40? It feels like it's literally never gonna happen.
I think.
And yet I know 40-year-olds.
Maybe it's because we dreaded 30 for so long. I think as a 20-year-old, as a teenager, you're not dreading your 20s. You're kind of looking forward to it, the freedom. But then the 20s, you're like, yeah. Oh, I got to become something before 30. Oh no, it's coming. And then it's already here. And then you kind of give up, and you're like 30 and 100 are the same thing.
I guess, yeah. I'm sure you probably feel pretty young. I think it's a state of mind as much as anything else. I know people who are, younger than me who are old people, just based on how they kind of live their lives and vice versa. So I guess that's a large part of it. But I just feel like I've been stuck between 35 and 40.
It's just weird. I don't know. It's cool. I'm not complaining. I like being under 40. It's a nice thing to be able to
Yeah,
say.
we've got still so much time for it, and by the time we hit 40,
So
do you know
much.
how strange it's gonna get? It's already
It's gonna be
it
deep.
got peak strangeness already in, like, 2017, and now we've just been just hitting the multiplier button nonstop to where I don't even know what anything is anymore. I pretend for
Me
periods
neither.
of, like, podcasts and, like, have some kind of
Yeah, same.
narrative, but then afterwards, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what anything
You
is.
know, it's like a very thanks for coming on, by
Of
the way,
course, are you kidding? It's
dude.
motherfucking
Yeah,
synchronicity. I gotta get you on too.
I
You owe me
know.
one.
Yeah, I got you. Whenever. It's one of those things where, like, a lot of people love Terrence McKenna. I love him as well, but I always kind of take a lot of what he says with a grain of salt. Like he was like a provocateur, and I feel like we've kind of gotten into these like McKennian times where it's just like, yeah, you say shit when you're talking to people, and like that's what it is, and you really believe it, and it's just kind of so nebulous that you might as well be true. And then afterwards, you're like, is that true? I don't even know. And I think it's kind of like a good. It's novel to use one of his words, but it's like a good thing, but it's also very disorienting because like to have any sense of stability or like certainty about anything is like it's just a foreign concept at this point.
Even you, like, even at the deepest Neville Goddard level, or do you still are you still shaky in the imagination being everything?
Nah, I mean the thing is that the imagination to me, I was talking about this recently, is it's not that I view that as like the end all be all of all creation and like consciousness and what we experience, but I do believe it's a higher dimensional reality, not in like a value judgment way, but I think that things you do in that realm cascade down into this realm, and it is testable and provable. So like for me that's like it's not like a belief that like hinges on like my experience of something other than testing that out and being like, okay, well, if this is kind of like a reflection of a higher dimensional reality, if I do things in the imaginal realm or what other realm would be seemingly higher on the totem pole, relatively speaking, does that augment and change this reality? And for me, that still seems to be the case. Does that mean that I don't get like totally whacked out and like total just like having no idea and it just seems completely chaotic? Like, no, like I'm no one I don't as far as I can tell, very few people in existence in time and space have been immune from
Yeah.
that. And I think that's like it's a cool thing, but it's also like you just got to kind of accept that. But yeah, no, I mean shaky and not shaky, but I do believe it's a higher dimensional kind of like reflection of this reality for
Yeah.
sure.
No, very well put, and I very much resonate with that, and it kinda makes me look forward to not that I'm not enjoying the shakiness of you now, but, like, I know it's coming back because you come in waves of, like, melting into the imagination and everything is synchronicity to, like, I don't know, man, this is, like, kind of a weird time, like, I feel it. Do you feel it? It's shaky, but it's all still good, but it's weird, but maybe in 2025, it's like, we're back in the magical feeling of things again.
I do think, yeah, I think that's like a really good point. Like that kind of flow, synchronicity, like fun state. I think we forget like to even be aware of that. We have to have the counterpoint to it. And I think the more you can enjoy the like not, I won't say opposite of that, but like the downswings or the ebbs as compared to the flow, like you realize it's never actually dissipating or being less. It's just I do think like it's such a like, it's so like played out to say this, but we're transitioning so much and so often that like it's somewhat unreasonable to think that we're going to have the experience of everything being cohesive and stable and like logical and making sense for a little bit. I mean, I don't know about you, but like my throughout all of this like special hyper weirdness we could say over the past 3 years, like my life generally has been pretty fucking good. Like for whatever crazy shit is going on in anyone's life at a given time, and God knows I've had my share of it. Like, I mean, I can't really complain. Like the world is kind of serving up like a pretty like ridiculous funhouse version of itself, and I think it's fun at the very least most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be crazy or just completely disconnected to not acknowledge that like shit is fucking weird, like fucked. Like shit is like objectively and subjectively for most people feeling like very like what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on? Like that's just
There is for sure collapse, but who knows what that means, and collapse is maybe,
yeah.
like, the best thing to ever happen, and you might never actually experience it yourself, and it's so slow, and the ground is breaking underneath you, but you never fall into the cracks, you're just kind of freaked out by the little cracks going on here and there, and I don't
Yeah,
even obsess over that
it's a wild
stuff, like,
world.
I don't even really listen to the doom things about everything because there's endless doom you can take in. I'm just kind of Bill Burr about it now, like, I don't know what to make of the most recent variants or the most recent vax mandates or the most recent Rogan
Right.
episode of this. I'm just "Ah,
Exactly. Hands in the air. Exactly like that. And I think that's like the new like meta skill that I can see. Like, and the only reward you get from having the skill is like somewhat peace of mind relative to other people who are just getting caught up in shit is just to like not react. That's it. Just don't get sucked into some shit that very like the chances are really doesn't affect you for more than the time you're actually thinking about the thing. I'm not saying that like there aren't people who are clearly being oppressed and like there's radical injustices and people are dying of COVID. Of course, like all this shit is happening, but for the most part, the percentages game that like that is not going to be something that's worth your energy getting kind of like tied to. So I feel like people who can kind of see multiple perspectives, we all fall into our traps at any given time. Like as much as like I'll sit here and be like, like I don't, I don't understand why people are like care about the vaccines, like if they're anti-vax or pro-vax. It's like I am totally guilty of like being biased against people who get angry at people for not being vaccinated. Like I can say that like I should, and I don't really at the end of the day care, but like that's where my bias goes. But at least if you can see where it is, you don't get sucked into it as much as like, and that's the only thing, because I think it's just a distraction at the end of the day. That's like what this time feels like to me more than anything else is like we still have our dreams. We still have our goals. We still have all the shit that like we came here to do and that we genuinely in our heart of hearts want to do. It's easier now than ever. I really think at any point in history that we can like note to not like focus on that. We have every fucking excuse in the world to not focus on that. So trying to like maintain that connection between like what you really want to be doing, that's like I feel like you're rewarded continuously if you like stay connected to that. Doesn't mean you have to be making like tons of progress, like the album didn't come out or this project didn't come out or the relationship didn't happen or whatever it is. But like you just have to stay connected to it and then like you'll see what happens over time. Cause I feel like a lot of people just give up, in times like this. And it's probably the wrong time to give up, is my hunch.
Yeah, I like that. And maybe give up if your idea is to book a tour or something because you can't control what's going to happen in the but maybe in the large scale things of like, oh, maybe I'll tour in 2050 on my hoverboard, which they finally figure out anti-gravity in 2035. Jesus Christ, it took them forever.
Finally.
What's going on with that?
Fucking
Yeah.
idiots. It's just dumb science brains. What are you doing? Like, dude, give us our fucking hoverboards. Well, all right, maybe a billion people need to die of some mutagenic virus, but can we just get the fucking hoverboards,
Did
please?
you ever get really into free energy? We might have already talked about this, but the whole 0 point energy, like all they have to do is tap into the rotation of the proton and then we can have anti-gravity
Right.
and all this. And then I got really into it like 5-10 years ago. But then you check back in 10 years and you're like, what happened with that, guys? I thought you had it and you just needed people to submit to your Indiegogo. And then it's
Yeah,
almost like a
right.
prank in the
I
simulation. Like it keeps teasing you with that.
that one's weird because like I feel like it's logical that actually there has been progress in that direction towards like sustainable or free or like like in the movie The Saint. That's like the first time I ever thought of like free energy. It was like that the cold fusion, like the guy figured out the equation in the pocket. So I definitely think there are probably people who have figured out in some way to kind of create that. I I'm not very conspiratorial in terms of like my thinking naturally, but it does seem somewhat plausible that long-standing sources of energy and how it's built into the like fabric of like the macro global economic system, would probably not want that to just radically transform how we do business. That to me, like, that's believable enough for me that any advances would kind of be squelched, whether just like written off as lunatics, or like, oh, there's a disaster at the lab, or we disappeared this person, or whatever it is. But like, I, that to me, just, it seems like weird that we wouldn't have made more progress in that. I also just fundamentally believe like we'll probably be alive for like when these major catalysts start to happen. Like, oh, like they really did cure like not all diseases, but like cancer. Like it's already happening. Like the cancer is like, if you look at the rates of like cancer that's like curable or treatable now compared to like 20 years ago, it's like insane. It's like there's some cancers you were, is a death sentence, and now it's like a 5% chance of like anything bad happening. So I do think we're going to see some pretty amazing
I know
shit.
people with
But
HIV and they're like, "Yeah, I just have to take this ibuprofen twice a
yeah,
week." And it actually feels good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's truthfully like, so shit has come a long way. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like we get inundated with so much doom and gloom at this point that it's like it really is just like a chore in and of itself to stay like not freaked out by it all, and you can be like, somewhat detached. Like I consider myself somewhat detached from a lot of this
Me
stuff now,
too.
just because like yeah, of course. Like I mean, like this is clearly why we're doing what we're doing. It's just it it gets increasingly more difficult because it seems like more and more people kind of get sucked into the vortex of like, I don't want to say like caring about stuff, but like getting like attracted to things that probably like, to me, what's the craziest thing more than anything, and I include myself in this category because I've obviously had enough conversations about it with the vaccines. No one gave a shit about vaccines 4 years ago. Literally no one cared. Everyone's like, yeah, it was good. They got rid of polio. Like there was the anti-vax people who were like adamantly against it and all these horrible things. And like, sure. But like for the most part, literally no one had a stance on it. And now everyone, whether they like it or not, kind of has to have a stance on it. And there's different, like a spectrum. But that to me speaks volumes, because it's like, it's not like we all individually decided that we give a shit about this. Like that's not something that's like organically happening. So I just look at that type of stuff and try to figure out like what is worthy of my time and attention right now. And it seems to be like, I'm sure you recognize this. You can get a lot more done if you have that kind of like ability to discern what you want to focus on for the
Yeah,
most part.
there's endless amounts of things trying to get your attention, and it gets trickier every time. I don't know if you remember the first time you fall for a certain type of clickbait and then remember it a year
Yeah.
later, like, oh, that would have gotten me a year ago. Oh, that would have gotten me 2 years
Yeah.
ago. What would a person 100 years ago do to survive on the internet now? Everything would be so clickable. They would have to just go into every reality tunnel. And in 10 years, who knows what we're going to be able to do. Like I'll be able to discern between real
Yeah.
Noah and like a deep fake Noah that someone pranked me with, and
Fuck.
there's like 12 of them,
Those
and then
deep
I'm
fakes,
like, I
man.
shoot 11 of them. I'm like, how'd you know it was me? And I'm like, I didn't.
I hope you did it. Yeah, exactly. I hope you choose right in those situations. Yeah, it's almost impossible to predict like what's going to happen. But that is why I think like, and truth be told, like I was talking about this with Denise like recently. I don't do like a lot of active imaginal stuff anymore. Like I don't like when I first discovered it, and I still love it. And like put on any Neville Goddard lecture, like I'll listen to it because it's just like it's great. But when I first was like really getting drawn to it, and like it kind of like put a lot of pieces together and a lot of things clicked, I was doing it like obsessively because I was testing it. I needed proof. I needed evidence that this is either bullshit or it works, or like what does this mean? What are the implications? And I think if you spend enough time with like any technique, it doesn't have to be imaginations. It could be anything. It could be prayer. It could be ritual. It could be whatever. You begin to learn like the more subtle nuances of it, and you usually don't have to be as heavy-handed with it. Not that there's anything wrong with being heavy-handed on it. Like that's fine. It works actually really well. But now I just kind of try to subtly guide this ship and like notice if it's rocking too much. Like, okay, like what the fuck is going on here? Like maybe need to deal with this on a higher level or in like a different dimensional level. And that seems to be like what also preserves a lot of the mystery of this place. Like I think one of the bigger criticisms of all this shit is like, it sucks some of the like mystery away of what can happen in your life. Like if you can achieve or realize any of your desires or goals by just imagining it, like what's the fun anymore? And it
A lot?
obviously, as
How
anyone
about a
knows,
lot of fun, you
yeah,
idiots?
yeah, it's like literally all of it. But like, you know, I get at least why someone would think that, but like you're never compelled to like remain aware of like the subtle intricacies of the universe and like yourself. Like no one's like forcing you to do that. You can tune out and fucking eat Doritos whenever you want. Like it's not
Yeah.
there's no gun to your head.
Y
So
y You're
yeah, I
probably
mean,
gonna drift into there regardless. Like, I doubt anyone is enlightened enough to maintain that, like, constant Maharaji state the whole time. You can't help but just fall back down to your lower self.
yeah, but why would you and also like why would you want to like I enjoy analyzing and talking about this shit with people like you. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad I'm not glad that people are dying of COVID and the world of fucking clusterfuck most of the time, but I'm glad it like at least it's interesting enough that like we're like, whoa, this shit's fucking crazy. It's not like, well, you know, things are boring, nothing's really happening. Like I definitely choose this, and I think we all do, which is why it's our experience of it. It's just like you don't want to get freaked out. I mean, like, what has your experience been like? I mean, now what? We're like fucking year 3 of like wonkadoo pandemic. People are kind of like recognizing that like we can't live like this forever, like for real. But I mean, like, where are you at right now in terms of interfacing with like the rest of the
Oh,
world?
man, luckily, I'm such a introvert to begin with, so I have no problem, like, there's not a lot going on outside. I mean, you can still get food delivered and weed delivered, and
Yeah,
you can
that's
still
true.
go out to eat at bars and things like that, outdoor seating. Some are still indoor seating. It's the mask thing I've gotten used to. I don't like it. I'm looking forward to a day that we burn all the masks like they burned disco
The
records.
bras
Remember
and
in
shit.
in
Yeah. Oh yeah.
1980, they're like, "Fuck disco. We're sick of this. It's just too disco-y. We loved it for the 70s, but the 70s are over now, so let's burn all our Chic records and everything." And I mean, Chic rules, Nile
Yeah.
Rodgers rules,
Chic, yeah,
but I
of
mean,
course.
in 1980, people hated it. They were ready for new wave and whatever, all hair metal and things like that. But I can't wait for the day where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, masks are now completely over. Send the last notification to every
Oh
phone.
God.
But I also fear that that'll never happen, and that the new reality is just kind of like airport security, where it's like, yeah, it's pretty much always going to be a little bit masky everywhere.
I just kind of refuse to accept that, I guess, at the end of the day. And it's just hard for me to imagine that we're going to have to do that forever. Like, I know a lot of people, like, if you've traveled at all in airports, you would see, like, a lot of people from Asia would wear masks from, like, a decade ago. Like, this wasn't,
Yeah,
like, an unusual thing. People would look like,
only
oh, too
Asians.
sanitary, whatever.
If you saw a
But it
non-Asian
was
doing
really,
it, you'd be like, "Excuse me, sir,
you'd be like,
that's
what the hell is going on? It's
appropriation."
like, there
Yeah.
was this, yeah. So, I mean, I get that some people will probably continue it, but I don't know, man. I just feel like everyone is going to have to confront their fear of like sickness and mortality while they're living, right? Like it's just one of those things you have to do. And this is not like an endorsement to be reckless and like, you know, get sick all the time, but like it just feels unnatural to me. Like animals don't wear masks. And granted, there are animals that are extinct now. And I don't know if they would have worn masks, they wouldn't be, but like it's not, it doesn't seem like something that we should socially be doing. I also think there's like a tremendous like importance in being able to see people like their faces, like this could be a whole religious Islam thing as well, but like I do think it's like there's something there that like helps us identify humanity and like emotion,
Thank
and I
goodness
think
eyes are here
if we
still. If we lost eyes, that would be a
yeah,
huge hit.
eyes would be pretty fucking brutal. I mean, that would be imagine if it was reversed,
Yeah.
like if you got sick through your eyes, so you just had to wear like a fucking blindfold. Wow, that would really fucking suck. I mean, just think of all the weirder and worse ways this shit could have gone. And I guess it's not that bad when you think of it. Like,
It's both
I don't
though,
know,
because
like,
like, I feel like if it was
yeah.
way more severe, we might have, this is talking out of my ass like I always do, but I feel like it would have been taken more seriously and ended quicker if it was more serious. And since it's this wishy-washy, like it's a 0.01%
Yeah.
death rate, but it's overwhelming hospitals, and the vaxes don't cover everything, but they do cover a lot. But the masks don't work, but they
Yeah.
do, and you should wear two, but you shouldn't wear any, and you should stay home, but you
Right.
should go out and you shouldn't. And then it's every message is being blasted into your head, and you're like, wait, what is this?
It's tough. I mean, I think that also goes back to like just like you got to figure out who you're going to listen to without being like ignorant about it, but also not being so willing to believe what you're being told, not because there's some nefarious plot, but maybe like no one knows what the fuck is going
Bingo.
on. Like that's always kind of been my impression of all of this from the beginning. I was like laughing that Trump was president while this was happening. Or couldn't be like a more like probably terrible person in charge while this is happening. But also like the entire world just got caught with their pants down. Like no one was prepared for this at all in any way. And most of it has just seemed to be exactly what you would expect if people were just reacting to something that they literally didn't know what was going on. And it's like, that's okay. Like I'm okay with that reality. There's sometimes shit happens and I don't know what's going on. So I understand the feeling. It's just this certainty and certitude that comes from any side trying to like be so sure that this is the path forward for everyone at in large. That just seems like a recipe for like people being angry with each other. And like I like I've seen more of it, luckily, like people who are both vaccinated and unvaccinated being able to speak to someone who's the other and being totally confident and cool with their decision and totally respecting what the other person's like. That's a recent thing. I haven't really seen too much of that, but I have like seen more and more of it, especially on social media. And like it's refreshing because that's how it should be. Like I think if you really feel that you're protected from getting a when you get a vaccine, you get a booster and it's going to be reduce your chances of severe illness or whatever it is, 100 you'd be a moron not to get the vaccine. Like you would actually be an asshole. But if you're someone who believes, you know what, I have a natural immunity to this, I think I can do the things that make me healthy, and if I get it, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to be careful, I'm not going to go and spread it to other people like a dick, but like I think I can handle it. I respect that too. It's just like you have to have the certainty that that's okay for you and something else might be okay for someone else. And that obviously can be an unpopular opinion when it comes to vaccination, because a lot of people think and fully believe that this is completely contingent on everyone kind of playing their role and like hitting the number where like we're okay now. And
And
I don't,
yeah,
I don't
if
know
we
if I
could do that, if everyone could get on the same page, we would be done with our problems. Like, it's not like it would be
yeah,
like the fact that people are surprised,
yeah,
like, how come we can't get everyone on the same page with this? That was never going to
yeah,
happen at all. So to try to force it with
yeah.
vaccine or anything is pretty silly.
Yeah, this whole right and wrong shit. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but like this idea that for you to be right, someone else has to be wrong, like that seems like incorrect to me. That seems like a not great way. Also, like again, if what I think we believe is that our consciousness kind of shapes reality, why would you want to live in that world? That world sucks. That world literally pits everyone against each other at some point or another, rather than just being like, you know what? That's something to think about, huh? I'm curious. I'm curious to see whether this pans out or not, and not becoming like invested from like an identity
Yeah.
level. And I think that's probably why you and a lot of our friends um, do so well, is like we do seem, and a lot of people listening, I'm sure, have this ability to kind of like modulate through identities without feeling trapped by any one of them. And that's like a very useful skill to have right now. Because if you get locked into anything, good luck.
Yeah.
Like good fucking
Yeah,
luck
don't
out there.
buckle your feet down to whatever floor you think you're on. I know this sounds like encouraging
Yeah.
madness, but hey, it's synchronicity. We encourage madness sometimes.
We do. We do. Also, there's like, I mean, you still doing crypto stuff?
No, not really, but I want to. Same with, I mean, I've brought this up so many times, but I have a weird resistance to NFTs, and I mean, I know crypto is
Yeah.
different than NFT. I mean, no, it's you buy
Yeah, it's
NFTs
similar.
on it, but buying it and trading it and monitoring it, and like I just have some and I hold on to it, and then when it goes up, I'm like, hell yeah, and then when it goes down, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I'll buy a little bit more. Or I won't and be like,
Which is
I'll
smart.
wait for the dippity, that meme of like the dip, the dippity dip, the dippity
The
dip
dip,
dip,
the
and
dip, the
the
dip.
like an endless sniper. Right now it's like at 40
Yeah.
something. I think now is a good time to buy some. I could be wrong. It could go down to 30, but it's like a weird resistance towards this and TikTok where it doesn't sound like fun to me at the moment. But then I'm not having that much
That's
fun without it either. So
I I will say this. I have never had the correlation between me having fun with crypto and making money is a direct, like, they're lockstep
when
with
you
each
have
other.
fun, you're making
It's
money.
ne Yeah, and when I have fun, I'm making my money. And even if you lose money when you're having fun, you will see you will quickly make it back. Like I've leveled up a couple of times over the past 2 years, and it's directly related to doing the left curve thing where you just like bash your brain in with like a rock and you just make dumbass decisions because that will make you money. Cause like that's the crypto meme. Like the left side of the bell curve is like the idiot. It's like, I do it because it's good. Then the right side is like some genius, like sensei person being like, I do it because it's good. And then in the middle where the bell curve is, it's like, no, this idea must be complex and have many moving parts. And like, I have to do that. Those people don't take action. The people who are like, I
Mm.
do it because it's good, they get the smaller percentage of that bell curve, but the bigger gains. What's going on now? I mean, I've seen it. Have had this server now for a while for CryptoSync, and like I've seen
What's a
now
server for
pretty
CryptoSync?
the Discord server I
Oh,
have for the Patreon thing. I've had it since 2017 when it was just like people were asking me so many fucking questions because I was the only person they knew who had like Bitcoin. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like this sucks. I'm having the same conversation like 20 times a day. So I was like, here's a place where we'll all talk about this stuff. You can join. And so I've seen this year, really the past year and a half, 2 years, like I've seen people ramp up like what I knew was possible in terms of like it being a catalyst for people like achieving financial independence, like really changing their relationship with money, like not having to worry, being able to help their friends or like whatever. That's now happening pretty much on a daily basis, just like which we can witness. And I've never seen something like so fun in my life. Like it's legitimately like encouraging and heartwarming to see like how like just like a real change in like money circumstances for people can really like change their life. And like it doesn't solve their problems in their entirety, but like we've hit this tip, like we've hit the point where like even Bitcoin's been going down for like I don't know, like 2 months since November or whatever it is. There's like a million other things that have just been going up insane since that time. So like there's this weird thing happening now where amidst all the chaos and kind of uncertainty, there's more opportunity than I've ever seen, not just in crypto, just in life. And that I think the more people who can focus on that kind of like aspect of this reality, like the better position they'll be when like it does smooth out a little bit
yeah.
and it's not like so fucking rocky. But yeah, I mean, I've been like, making Jessa get stuff and like sending people like a bunch of things so they can just like get involved. Like I'm sending my aunt like this digital chicken on AVAX because I was like, listen, if you learn how to take this, you're making like $40 a
What's
day. I'm going to send you
AVAX? I
something that
keep seeing that, and then
AVAX
people
is,
probably thinks it sucks that it sounds like anti-vax or something.
it's
It's
so
like,
funny.
what's AVAX?
Yeah. It's AVAX is just the Avalanche blockchain. It's just like a competitive layer one blockchain, like Ethereum or any other ones. Um, it's really good. It's fast. It's efficient. It's kind of works how Ethereum you would want it to work. Like it's not expensive to use. Transactions are reasonable. There's a ton of like dApps on there. It's just been a really good ecosystem. That's where I made most of my gains this past since August. And like it was just like that was my level up thing. And then like seeing what you can do once you level up, like we've all leveled up in various aspects of life, but knowing that money in particular is a very potent form of energy in this reality,
It's
it's
accepted
pretty
everywhere.
incredible. Yeah, and like I'll tell you this, like the most fun thing, and I get the sense you would probably be one of these people who derives immense pleasure from it too, is like having enough that like you can ask your friends like, do you need money? And like the cool friends who are not going to take that as like an imposition or like strings attached, be like, yeah, you know, like I've been a lot of time, but like, how much you need? And like being able to send that to them, like it makes you realize like this is how shit should work. Like when you don't have to worry about how am I going to replace this? How am I going to meet ends meet? Like how is this going to work? But you know that you're good, not just like because you've imagined it, which is useful, but you're actually seeing it play out. That's a very liberating place to be, and I think it helps tremendously. It's just you got to find these opportunities like in the middle of all this shit, which is
that requires an active participation in it, because it's so easy to talk about the ups because there's always a plane leaving to where you want to go. It's just a matter of like, do I know that this plane is not going to crash, or at least not give turbulence and make me throw up or something? And
and you don't,
any sort
right?
of anything, that's what any investment is. And then you can kind of just play the odds of like, based on looking at this entire curve of the last year or 2 years, based on where it's dipped now, it's more likely that it's probably going to start going up soon. So I'll catch.
Shit's just going up all the time. This is the thing, like, and I encourage you as like my friend, like to do this, but just like if you ever have any questions, it's not about like me having all of like the secret information. It's just like I have had the benefit and luxury to like be successful at this and do it for a long time. Like it's all about spreading the wealth. And like at this point,
Yeah, I'll
like
spread some
I
of
was
it.
listening to this guy.
I'll give a little.
It's super fun. It's super fun. And like, truthfully, man, like I've just seen how it helps people to like recognize that like they don't have to worry about this shit. And like you don't want to get like in the euphoric stage and think like you're never gonna have to like worry about money again. But like you do kind of get to a point where you can recognize like you're good. Like you're good for like a long time. And like even if the shit drops a lot, like it's very helpful. And I just like I don't know. I just see it clearly is having an impact on like I don't like to use the word spiritual
No one does.
like
We got
stuff,
to
but like
claim it
I
back.
know
Everyone's already said they don't like you
so
saying it.
fucking
I'm
horrible.
going to start saying God and spiritual all the time.
Yeah, it's like it's no good, but like I went on Lacey's podcast and like she was asking, she's just got a job with like a blockchain company and was like super jazzed up on it. And I was like, she was probably expecting me to be like super enthusiastic. And I was like, listen, here's the deal. It's also a fucking nightmare. Like I've lost tons of money, but like it'll teach you about yourself in a way that I think a lot of other things don't teach us, because like money is just one of those things that we have to deal with so in a Western society. So it's like it's a good time to get involved. Also, I just am of the firm belief that like in like 5 years, dude, like we're not gonna have a choice. Like everyone's gonna be
Yeah,
doing this
it
shit
is
anyway.
the
We're just gonna be
future.
like a
Like
part
the
of
way
reality.
that they said the internet is a fad and now the internet is everything. The blockchain is the future. It's just a matter of like which .com. You shouldn't put all your eggs in one .com basket, because there's the .com crash and you don't know if Bitcoin will still be around. It'll probably still be around. But I want to ask you about uh,
I like how you. This is my podcast. This always happens. I literally, just so you know, I have to think like 2 questions ahead because I'm like, Ramin's gonna hit me with some questions. Like he's interviewing me, and I have to have 2 questions. So go
yeah,
ahead,
I don't want
ask
to.
me a
I don't want
question.
to
I
answer
have
this
2
question
questions.
about myself. I already answered all 3 of them. How tall are you? How much does your dick weigh? And how many times a day do you eat your own ass? 7, 7, and 18.
7. I like that. It just weighs 7. It weighs
No
7.
unit of measurement.
No unit, just
What
7.
was so I get messages every day saying, "Are you going to come out with NFTs? Are you going to come out with NFTs?" Comments, "Are you going to come out with NFTs?" I look at the NFTs. There's little pictures of apes. Some of them sell for nothing. Some sell for $1 million. They come in
Yeah,
sets. People are excited to announce the drop of it. I loved the South Park making fun of the pyramid scheme aspect of it.
amazing.
Very good. But I mean, what is my question? Do you think I could make one and sell it for $100,000?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is this is like I think what NFTs are doing a lot of things. Like it's you got to be careful where we don't lump like concepts together in something that's branded as like a non-fungible token,
Yeah,
which is ultimately most of these things are just links pointing to an image anyway. But it is this idea of digital ownership. But what I have noticed NFTs do for a lot of artists of like, especially ones who are like well regarded, like you, is it opens up channels for people to support you in ways that they may not have been able to support you, but are more than happy and willing to do. Like there's a whale out there with tens of millions of dollars who likes your art. Like I'm sure this is true. It's almost impossible for it not to be. So if you allowed those types of people to participate in ownership or some something, and you would do something cool, and there's so many different ways to do this. It could give you access to this part of your archive or whatever the fuck it is. There will be enough demand where I think you'd be like, wow, this is actually pretty surprising. I think, like, this from just being an artist and a creative person, there's always the fear too that you launch something like this and in retrospect it was just kind of like a money grab, or you weren't fully invested and it's kind of like it didn't get the response you wanted. I don't think that's the way to look at NFTs right now. I think basically all an NFT is, in terms of like buying it for value, is a representation of like whether someone likes it, wants to pay for it, and then like on the same token, whether there are many people who value these things and determine that they're worth more and more. So like, is there going to be a bidding war if you release an NFT series immediately? I don't know. There was this Turkish artist who just released he's like a cartoonist from Turkey. I had no idea who he was, but the guy who was a founder of Avalanche, this AVAX stuff, is a Turkish guy, and he liked him, so he tweeted out his NFT collection. I bought
How
5 of
much?
them for one AVAX each. So at the time it was like, I think $110 each, and now they're each worth 4 to 5 AVAX each. Like, so like, you don't ever really know what's going to be worth what, but if you're doing it because like you think it's a cool idea, it's easy enough to do. I would be shocked if there wasn't a demand for like some, like, if you like really did something cool with it, like you made it a crypto focused or like some like cool Ramin fucking thing with an NFT that was like very clear that like you've put thought and effort into it. I would be surprised if people, like, I know I would bid on shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, granted, I'm your friend, but like, it's because I like your art. So I know there would be other people who would gravitate towards this. And I've seen artists who haven't been able to really monetize their work effectively. And this is a huge shift that's going on, not just with like NFTs and art, but like the play to earn gaming stuff. I don't want to get to the Web 2, Web 3 stuff too much, but basically the way we interact with digital media right now is it's produced, we consume it. If there's a value proposition in terms of paying for it, that's what's done. But in the future, it's going to be a more participatory kind of economy. And that to me is like very important to like.
You mean more
recognize and
real-time
think about.
exchange, like your
Yeah, and like
attention?
more of a connection. Yeah, like if you do like a limited series, like I don't know how many NFTs, let's say it's not like one of these like algorithmically like designed ones where like there's 10,000 in a collection, but you just do like a limited release thing, you're pretty much going to know, even if they're anonymous, who's purchasing these and for what they purchased for. There's a connection there
Yeah.
between those people bidding and
It just still
supporting
feels
that.
gross though, and I need to
Yeah, I mean,
wait it out a little bit more, and it might be just because the culture, it's already like, it has
the
the
culture
stink of
sucks.
it. It
Like,
has the stink of the tech bro mark, and that's a tough mark too, because I can't argue against
the
it.
problem is like, well, the problem is this is like, and this is like when I have to like, I laugh at myself because I am a crypto bro at some point, but the way I kind of like, I just like to think of it as like Robin Hooding the system because that's genuinely like what I'm doing. But basically, like, there's nothing inherently bad or distasteful about making an NFT right now, but you have to genuinely believe that. In fact, what I've seen more often than not is people who have kind of embraced NFTs not as just like an avenue for money, but as like just this thing to explore out of curiosity. They then have like a real, like, they're getting compensated. Like, the truth is like you should be getting paid for everything you put out. Like, it's good enough. Like, there's people listen to free shit. The biggest thing you can say, like, in terms of someone valuing your content is if it's free and they listen to it. That's like a huge endorsement. They wouldn't, you could be, well, they didn't have to pay. Of course they're gonna, no, they're not. They could listen to anything. Everything is free out there. So like, if people are already doing that, there's a level of like interest and care that I think, it's not that it's exploited, it's that it's like you're exploring it. Like, people can actually now have a different type of relationship. I think there's just a lot of negative propaganda about NFTs because like this Bored Ape Yacht Club shit is ridiculous. It's so broy, it's so cringe, it's so like the art isn't even good. It's like just really rich, like, you know, cis white males just like fucking throwing their daddies and mommies money's way. And it's not all that, but like you can tell that's an element of it. But for that, there's tons of other NFT projects that are genuine art, that are really cool concepts, that are innovative, that have really great communities. I one of my favorite ones I invested in, and just because I like the art originally, is this Forgotten Wizards Rune Club. There's these digital kind of like 8 pixelated like Sega Genesis looking uh wizards, and they're fucking dope. They're super fucking cool, and I've been lucky enough to see them really like start to rise in value slowly but surely, that like it's cool. And like that type of stuff, as long as your source material is like dope and it's good, you don't have to worry about like it being icky or like bad, or like, you know, you're exploiting something. Also, the environmental, you know, that's a red herring thing. It literally, the environmental impact of NFTs are negligible. It's a huge like apples and oranges comparison when you're talking about digital art, because we don't think about what it takes to process physical art or shipping, or like the institutions that process payments for that. Like there's a whole other thing. So it's not like you're actually harming the environment by selling NFTs. But it is something I
You
think like
are, but
if you
everything
really,
is.
yeah, I mean, it's not like you're harming it more by making an
The way it's
NFT. Like
the way
in
they write
fact,
about it is that, like, every time you mint one, it takes up, like, the amount of electricity for a
it's
whole
insane.
village, and, like, you just imagine a village's power going off for a year, and then a little ape showing
Yeah,
up.
but that would basically force us to be like, every time we record a podcast remotely, we're probably burning like 100 times as much, because we're actively like sucking computer juice out of it rather than one transaction or a mining. It's just like that all I would say about the environmental stuff and kind of like this other perspective of it being kind of like gimmicky or hackneyed or like not that cool. There are people who are paid to write those articles. Very few people are just going to naturally have a distaste for a new digital art form. Like there's a reason why some of these articles get written and kind of are very easily debunkable if you just kind of like read a little bit. And it's not debunked that like it doesn't require a proof of work. Blockchain will require electricity. That's just how it works. It's just, what else requires electricity? Like how much does it cost to run like all the financial institutions of the world? Like with, we cut out all the middlemen and the people driving to work and whatever it is. Like there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But again, back to like the NFTs and like the art shit. If you do something that you think is cool and you mint it as NFTs and present it in a cool way, like I would be surprised if there weren't people like bidding on it, and you would probably immediately see that like A, you're okay with it, and B, like you get that this is this other realm that like is going to be and is in the process of being very beneficial for creative people. Like the music stuff is about to come too. The next few years there's going to be a lot more music NFT stuff. I'm pretty excited for that. But like it's only a matter of time, probably, I would say, because like you're one of the few people who has been able to like build out a brand with digital art. Like that's hard. Like that's really like hard to do. Yeah, there's a million digital artists, but like to actually have like a unique and resonant voice that people like understand, that's not an easy thing to do. That's the hard thing. Anyone can make a fucking NFT. The product and the source of what you're doing, if you digitize it and allow people to have ownership of it, that's easy. Anyone can do that. I could fucking draw a dick on a paper, take a picture of it, and make it an NFT. That's
Sold.
easy. But like actually having, yeah, there you go, fit the ether. But like, dude, I like, I wouldn't say like it's something you need to do or like you're missing out if you're not doing it. But I do imagine there'll be a time where like you're like, you know what? I think I'm ready to do it. I think this makes sense. I think I see how I'm gonna do it, and I would be shocked if there wasn't like a pretty good response where you're probably like, fuck, I probably should have done
Oh,
this like
yeah.
a year
I
or
think
two
it's built
ago.
into who I
But
am. I see the opportunity and I know where the world is going, and yet I always refuse to act on it, whether it's seeing that
yeah,
TikTok is, I mean, TikTok used to be Musically, but I'm like, this is the next Facebook, this is the next
yeah.
Instagram. All these, I see where it's going, and I still I can't help but just goof off and just have like enough money, but never boatloads of it because I don't know why. Maybe because I don't feel like what is the reason for attracting this large sum of wealth? I just don't have it yet.
All I can say is this. If that's something that you get stuck on, and I think a lot of people who are conscientious feel like that because it's natural to be like, why do I need more than what I actually need? I will say the easiest selling point for me is, dude, imagine like someone comes to you, like a friend or a family member, and like you're like, fuck, man, like I got these medical bills, they're $20,000. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And you're like, oh, I can give you twenty
I can
thousand
give you
dollars,
twenty
no problem.
dollars.
Yeah, like so like that type of alone can kind of depersonalize it. So it's not like, why should I have all this money? And then alternatively, I can just tell you, like, for me, I just bought a fucking Eventide
What's
H9000.
that?
One of the best fucking it's like one of the best effects out rack gear you could get. It's like 7,000. It's insane. It's like the stupidest. It's an insane amount of money to spend on a piece of audio gear that's just effects that you can plug in via analog. However, that's what I want. Like that shit is dope to me. Like this is like I am going to enjoy the fuck out of this, and being able to buy it and not having to worry about like, should I get it? I don't know. Like maybe it's not the right time. Like it's nice to be able to do it. And like I'm sure I will buy some shit, and I do it sometimes. I bought these fucking expensive slippers a month ago, and they got here, and I'm like, these suck. I have to send them back. Like I'm not just gonna spend money on shit. But I mean, like I think before making a judgment about what level of abundance is appropriate or not appropriate, you should at least allow the experience of either end of that spectrum so you can make an informed decision. Because 10 years ago, I would have said, like, I don't really need that much money. I don't really like money that
See, I would
much. It
never
seems
say
like
that.
kind of like
I never say that. I say that somewhere deep in me is resistance to bringing a lot of it in, and then the rest of me, all my consciousness thing is like, yes, give me the $7,000 effects pedal rack. I don't even know what's on it. Like it might just be like,
it's
yeah,
so
just
cool.
regardless. Yeah, give it to me. And people listening to this right now, don't message me asking when my NFTs are coming out. Message me what
Oh, please,
you
yeah.
would pay me for one, and then I'll make whatever you want if the number is right. Like Logan Roy says.
I think though, I feel like you would be both more entertained and like amused by seeing what someone would pay without knowing what they would pay, because like you would probably be
I might just
surprised.
make
Like
one for
I've
100
seen,
grand and then wait, and maybe it won't sell for like
you
3
don't even no,
years.
just open it for an open it with a reserve. Like open up an auction at like 3 Ether, which right now is like, like 10 to 12 grand, which seems like a lot of money, and see what the fuck happens. Like if no one bids it, no one bids it. You don't even have to announce it. You could just like stealth launch it somewhere. But like I think you would be surprised how eager people are to like own something of yours in that way, because it's your art in particular, like it really does speak to this kind of like not physical aspect of reality, which is hard to pin down. So like even owning some aspect of that, or that thought, like, oh, I really resonate with that like panel, I really resonate with that idea, that sums me up. The same reason someone would buy like a physical representation, that a sticker or one of your books. Like I think it would be very interesting to see kind of how this stuff could evolve, and then it would probably just be like a natural avenue for you to like put out cool ideas and stuff. Like I'm doing another NFT series, and like you don't want to make it seem like you're doing it because NFTs are popular. You could just be honest, like this is where people are demonstrating that they want to support me, so I'm happy to do it because that's where they're supporting me. And who knows, like maybe someone who never gave a shit about crypto gets into crypto because you make an NFT, and then they start discovering all of this other shit, and that makes them a lot of money, and now all of a sudden their life is changed because they had to go and figure out how to buy one of your NFTs. Like the possibilities are endless for how this shit can pan out.
Yeah, it's
So
just it all boils down to fear of optics, I guess. I'd be lying if I said if I truly
of
felt like if
course,
I made like 10 of these that there would really be a significant environmental impact. It's more the fear of
of
the
course. I mean,
optics of sending that message. And
yeah, I mean, I think
I love embracing the
you
slime.
always
I
have.
love embracing that I do have a sliminess to me where it's like I wanna be seen as doing the right thing. Not just doing the right thing. I
Yeah,
wanna
of
be seen
course.
as someone who does the right thing.
Of everyone does. I mean, I think that's really natural, and I think the truth is that a lot of the things that we may feel are not the right thing or might not be the right thing are actually like totally insignificant even on that spectrum. It's not even about that. It's just like this, like you said, it's this resistance that's kind of hard to pin down, which is why like it's not like you find something that you're resistant to and then you have to do it. That's also like equally ridiculous, but like it can be a signal that it's something to pursue or at least look into. And the optics of it I get. But like no one gives a shit, truthfully. Like that's the real truth. Like no one actually would judge you more than like, oh, Ramin's doing an NFT, we selling out. Like, all right, whoever the fuck thinks that, like, really? Like that's the reason Ramin sold out is he fucking made an NFT so he could potentially get paid by people who want to pay for it. Go fuck yourself. Like, right click the image, put it on your desktop, and be happy. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I
my
mean?
fear
Like,
is
so
being seen as selling out for like $1,000
yeah, but
instead of
that's
69
that's why I was like,
million.
well, of course, and that's the thing, like, but for like, and again, like the Beeple shit and all of that other digital art that goes for that much, that's like, that's just like a weird kind of anomaly where
What a
those
lucky
people
bastard.
like,
Not that he didn't work for 13 years every day
it's,
putting out weird
you
stuff,
know,
but like man, he got the jackpot.
he got the jackpot, but like, you know what is also true is like this is what I'm kind of like dealing with in my life right now. Like I've completely and I've had the luxury to separate any aspirations of making money from my art. Like not because I don't think it's possible, but just because like I don't need that pressure. I like want to be able to make what is enjoyable to me. So I went the route where like my source of income is completely independent for the most part. So a similar thing that I would be facing that you're kind of on the precipice of is like, what if I want to start monetizing my music? Like, what if I want to start making NFTs? How would I do that? I would want to make sure that there's a demand for it, so I don't look like a fucking jabroni if I put my stuff out there and it looks like no one wants it. That's a fear that I think is natural for most artists. But after that is like, yeah, you just want to make sure that like it's cool and it's authentic. I'm not too worried about anything you would be doing that if you did it that it wouldn't be like you wouldn't have your own spin on it. You know what I mean? I've seen you do like the mind over pod uh uh things with Shane. Like that's like a perfect representation of like a project that you are invested in that comes out the way that you guys want it because like you care about it. As long as that's there, it doesn't matter if it's an NFT, a podcast, a TV show, a cartoon. It's irrelevant. It's just like you just got to figure out how to get that authenticity out across different
Right.
mediums because you don't know which one's going to hit at this point, and there's no shame in trying. And like almost every success of like people who really do like hit those things, like I'm sure people tried so much whack shit. I'm sure he tried so many fucking like not cool things before he even stumbled across the concept of the one a day being like his thing that was going to like help him focus or whatever. Like we all do stupid shit. Like, I mean, that's just like, it's just a part of like creating stuff. It never comes out from day one perfect and finished. It's like, it's not how it works. So.
Yeah. Maybe I will. I gotta shift my gear into wanting it to be a thing I want to make of it because so much of what they're describing as isn't it cool? It's 6 elephants and each one's wearing a different hat. Like it's not cool. Gifts were cool, but then even the ownership of a gift doesn't sound cool to me yet. But that's not to say that somewhere in the future offering something that can be exchanged for financial energy and exclusivity and the ability to trade it and stuff. Yeah, there's maybe it'll be a key to a room in the
I
metaverse
just feel,
when we've moved into like Tim Dillon says this is going to be a wasteland and we all move into the metaverse
yeah,
and
we
then
move
you're going
into
to
the like
own
Ready Player One. Yeah.
virtual stuff.
I mean, I just like for me, the reason I think that your stuff would be particularly suited for it whenever it happens is that to I feel like your art does again speak to these kind of like concepts that are hard for a lot of people to verbalize, and your ability to kind of synthesize them into like a visual representation of that feeling or idea is something people would want to say like I own that. Like I own that feeling. I own this speaks to me so much that this is something I've purchased because like I get that. That to me is like where this this like relationship, I think, of how your stuff could actually function in a cool way would be like, and like this stuff will also get easier and less like there's still friction, right? You still have to deal with kind of like the cultural and societal friction of, do I start an NFT? Like, what does that mean? Eventually it's just going to be like anything else. It's going to be like you posting on Instagram. The difference is like when you post on Instagram, you're not really getting compensated outside of the audience that you're building up.
I
and
wish
choosing
that
how
was
to
the
kind of,
NFT.
build it.
Like, I wish the system was you
But that's-
post. Maybe that is already what it is, but like the accepted, everyone is on platform, and then someone can claim ownership to that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, you basically could do that. You could list on OpenSea or Looks Rare, one of these places, like one of your things a month, and be like, this one you can own. And just like there's no big grand fucking, I'm venturing into NFTs. There's a parade. Everyone's got to hear about it. Oh, did you hear Ramin's doing NFTs? Did you hear? It would just be like, this is something that I'm trying out. Let's see what happens. And that approach, I think that kind of like lightness with it is representative of usually what you're conveying. And also like people get it, like crypto, like it's a weird world, man. Like there's a reason that some of these things are going for that much money. It's like money doesn't necessarily mean this. Like 20 grand doesn't mean the same thing to someone who has like $5,000 in their bank account as to someone who has like 5 billion. They're completely different things. But for the person with 5,000, that's a radical change in their circumstances. So you get a lot of this weird silliness. Like my latest NFTs were these things called
How many have you
boobas
made?
with these girls. I haven't made any NFTs because I don't have like a visual component to most of the stuff I do, and I'm not gonna go and take the time to create.
We should collab on one. We
We
should tandem do one, because then I'm less
it's fun.
afraid to jump out of the plane.
Yeah, and it's like it's not we should, and it's not difficult, and it's just you go in with the idea of it being fun. Like that, I think if you go in with that idea, it relieves some of the pressure of it having to be a thing. It takes some of the kind of like, it's like, like when you're being filmed on camera, like you've been on Conan, like when you're on camera, the main thing you have to do is act like you're not on camera. You cannot be aware that you are literally something is focusing on you and broadcasting it to everyone else. If you can eliminate that and act natural, quote unquote, people will respond. But if you're like, oh, I'm looking at the thing and no one likes that type of energy. So you just kind of go in with like, this is some fun shit that I'm doing. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I don't really give a shit. And let's see what happens. And like that to me is a big part of crypto, just because like money is so important for everyone. Like it is, like whether you like it or not. So when that ceases to become like so serious, life gets so fucking weird. Like it's like it completely changes. You could be like, should I take a private jet to the Bahamas? It's like, what are you talking about? It's an insane fucking thing. But like if you can actually have that thought and entertain it, whether you have the money in your bank account or not, just think how weird your reality is. It's fun. So like, I don't know. I think I also have for a long time, 20 years ago, more at this point, I firmly believe that the creative class is moving up the socioeconomic totem pole, where creativity and art is going to be more and more valued, as money is not necessarily tied to the same things that it like used to be. So like people will be able to express their like emotional desires and like preferences with money as an energy, rather than be like, I need to make this money to survive. Like I need it for food. I have to go to a job to get this stuff. It'll be like more of a vote of like what they like. And that to me benefits creatives because this unique shit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Hopefully.
yeah. What do you think? Next 10 years? I know I'm stuck on that number. I've brought it up like 8 times, like in the next 10 years, imagine. But 10 is a good round number.
10 gives you enough. Also, 10 gives you so, like, dude, 10
It's
years.
a decade.
Like, what were we doing 10 years ago? Like, it wasn't even the same planet.
It was not even close.
Like 10 years later.
I don't know what that was. 2012. Oh yeah, we were afraid of Mayan apocalypse. There was Occupy Wall Street or something. Obama is on Mark Maron podcast. It's like the 90s actually. Felt very
Yeah,
90s.
exactly. 10 years is exactly. It feels like the 90s. Like when you and I became to be like aware of like the 80s and the 90s as distinct things. It's like these eras ago. So 10 years is too long. I mean, I think, dude, honestly, I think most of the people we know who are like creating stuff and like, just creating stuff in the world that to be seen or heard, I think within 2 or 3 years, like all those people will be collaborating and successful in a way that like we probably couldn't imagine right now even like I just see it like you really get to see what you want to do when you don't have to grind for your
Yeah.
shit like that to me is what's happening.
Can we talk
um
practicals a little bit? Like, what's your favorite
yeah, of
wallet? Do you
course.
like Coinbase?
Yeah, I mean, Coinbase is my primary on ramp for fiat, so money. So like, I'll take things from. I'm primarily off exchanges completely. I'll use like MetaMask or
And
other
Metamask is a
wallets to
little
interact with.
plugin or an add-on for like Firefox, right?
Yeah, it's for any browser, web browser. It also can go on your phone. It's what's known as a non-custodial wallet. So you have control of your, or it's custodial wallet. You have control of your funds. Whereas if you go to Coinbase, they technically have your keys. You interface them like
Same
a bank.
transaction
It's
costs,
still yours.
MetaMask versus Coinbase.
Well, you're at the mercy of what's really emerged over the past year is there's a lot of different blockchains now that are actually usable and have shit going on them. So MetaMask lets you create an address that you can carry along to multiple different blockchains. So depending on what blockchain you're using, you will be paying almost no fees and it'll be very quickly. Whereas if you're on Ethereum, you're going to be paying a shitload of fees and it might not be as fast as you want it to be relative to a centralized exchange. But for the most part, you can get everything you want on one of these alternative blockchains. And then what's been making a lot of people a good amount of money is finding a blockchain, investing in the ecosystem when the narratives kind of like come to that point where it makes sense. And then she just goes parabolic because there's now competitors to Ethereum. There's competitors to this blockchain. There's these things. And like, it's not like 2017 where it's all just like smoke and mirrors and like pipe dreams. Like this shit is it's there. It exists. Like there's fucking, everything from earning interest on your money to playing games. Like I'm playing this fucking Crabata game on AVAX. I send these teams of 3 crabs. I got 7 of these teams. It's making me like $1,200 a day, and the price keeps appreciating on these things. I
Wait. You
genuinely
gotta back up there. What is the crab game on AVAX? There's like 3
AVAX.
terms.
It's called
Okay, so
Crabata.
what is this? You bet
It's
on
it's
crabs?
so it's yeah, no, you don't bet on it. So you buy these crabs. They're NFTs. You buy the crabs and you form
Can I
teams
be
of
on your
3.
team? Or
And
it's team?
no, you buy the crabs, you form your teams. It's attached to your MetaMask. And then you send each of your teams on a mining expedition or what's known as looting. It's an idle game. So you click a few times every 4 hours and a sequence of events completes itself and you earn currencies, Crabata and treasure under the sea. While Bitcoin has been going down over the past 2 months, I loaded up in this fucking ecosystem and the prices of those things have been going up 100, 200%. So like, meanwhile, like a lot of my coins are plummeting in value because they're still correlated to Bitcoin. Meanwhile, I'm playing this fucking game every 4 hours, just clicking a few buttons, printing like $1,200 a day. It like weirdly, this thing that like there's a whole scholarship program in the Philippines for this Axie Infinity game that happened over on the Ethereum blockchain early in the year. This price of this coin was like $1 or less. It went up to $150. Scholarships emerged that people in the Philippines who had internet connection had the time to play this game and grind this game 18 hours a day. So people would buy these teams, farm them out to the people in the Philippines. The people in the Philippines are making like $120 a day, which is like you're a king in the fucking Philippines. And the people who bought all this stuff earn the rewards of what they're doing. So they're making money. It's like, it's all these economies are now overlapping, like the metaverse and all this other stuff. I think what people don't necessarily understand is that these in-game economies and these new economies are now going to overlay on top of each other. So like, even if they're pegged to the dollar at the end of the day, like you will be able to make money in ways that you have never thought you were able to make money, from the most ridiculous things in the world to these crabs, or to like, sound putting, a large chunk of stable coins in something that earns you 20% a year. Like there's just endless opportunities. And I don't like to get too hyper bullish at what I feel is like probably like the mid to past the midway point of this particular bull cycle. But I don't think we're
Bull
going
means
back into like
hold, right?
2018.
Bear means get rid of it.
Yeah. So easy way to remember this, the origins of those terms. Bull, when it attacks, goes like this. It lifts its head up and attacks with the horn. So it goes up. Bears, when they attack, bear paw down and swipe down. So a
Oh,
bull market is up, bear market
bears
is
make
down.
money, bulls make
Um,
money, pigs get slaughtered.
Pigs get slaughtered. And like, I am a bull. Like, I have more fun when things go up. I don't short things. I don't bank on things going down. But the point is like, there's enough shit out there right now that even if like the narrative is Bitcoin and crypto's down, no, it's not. Like, not if you find the other shit. Like, you fucking play these crab games, these chicken games,
I
these
used to
boobs
play
games.
Cookie
There's all this.
Clicker, and there's no real money in Cookie Clicker, but there's something about it. So when you said you're playing this crab game, that kind of ignited something in me where now I want to try. I want to try crab game.
Play to earn, man. It's. I'm telling you, like, we're gonna
What's
see in
buy-in
the
cost?
next.
Minimum buy-in cost? Can you get in for like a couple
So
$100?
for
I
the
want to lose some
crabs
money
now,
today. I want to lose money today.
it's not like you build your team. So the crab game now is what many would consider a prohibitive cost to build a team of 3. But you could buy one crab and rent it out and start earning passive
Wait, what do you
income.
mean prohibitive to low? Like what?
Like,
Let's speak in
like
numbers.
to build like a competent team of like a one crabata team would probably cost you like anywhere from like, I don't know, like $7,500 to $12,000. So that's one
So
team.
you
And that one team,
invested like 30 grand for the crabs, and then now
I
they're returning like about 1,200 a day, which is a really good investment.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And plus the price keeps appreciating for these things. And so like, I have this weird feeling that those crabs are probably going to make me as much money as anything else this year, which is like ridiculous. But and it's very possible like the price goes
Do you
down if
do you
there's
feel
a
like
black swan
do you
event.
feel like this is tied to also being a father, or do you feel like if you weren't a father, you wouldn't have the need as much
Yeah,
to have the income streams come in all the time? Because that's got to be an
the truth
element of
is
it.
it is. And I found that with all of my sons, all of my kids, that close to when they were born, before and after, like large influxes of money happen each time. Like it's very clear that like there's some weird thing like where just money starts to flow in. I think that's a part of it, but I think ultimately like you just got to get your relationship with money as like out in the open as possible,
Mm.
and the kids will help you do that because like you said, like you do have to essentially like you can't let them if you just fucking your own life up, it's one thing, but you have responsibilities and things, and that's something that's clearly a motivating force. But I mean, I could have pulled I had enough where I could have stopped doing this. Like, I'm still working towards larger amounts, a because it's fun, but b because like I do have like plans for that. Like, I could see how that abundance could be used in a positive way for my life and the people around me, and larger even. So it's like definitely related to that, but everyone has something they want to buy that they maybe think is ridiculous or like they couldn't possibly imagine, but like everyone has something, and you should embrace that because there's a reason you want to buy it. There's a reason you're attracted to it. That reason may be that when you get it, you fucking hate it. Who knows? But there's a reason you want this shit. And so like I just think that's like one of this weird shit with desire that like you have to kind of just like accept that like they're not
Yeah.
random. It's like there's nothing wrong with you because you want something,
I need
but
to
I
actively
don't
do
know.
the look at it like exercise because I've just come to notice this maybe in the last few years, but I still have hangups about money, like not even just not when I
Sure.
even when I have some of it, I still don't want to look at my bank account. I don't want to look at the thing, and that's such a weird place to be. Even when you're doing good, you don't want to look at it. Like something about logging onto
It's
Coinbase,
interesting.
logging onto PayPal or Wells Fargo makes you shrink inside, and I know that's wrong.
You want to know something? You want to know something? I think there's more to that than you may realize because I also don't love looking at my bank account even when there's large sums of money in there. I do like looking at my crypto assets. I think that's just because there's a different energy. When you put your money somewhere, you're taking on like the properties of that. And I think banks for the most part don't have the greatest of energies around them. So like there is this like resistance and barrier to looking at it. And I noticed that like For sure. Like, I'm much more happy to look, even if I'm losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in crypto, like I'm more inclined to look at it and like feel like I need to avoid it, or like there is something I think just weird energetically about banks as holding cells
You
for
know,
our
Wells
money,
Fargo's
especially checking
founder
accounts.
used to collect children's skulls. That's
Jesus
not real, but
Christ.
it
You know,
sounds
Wells
real, doesn't it? It
Fargo,
sounds real.
I would totally believe it. I was just gonna say Wells Fargo is the only bank account and credit card company that I actually like closed within like a few months of getting them because they were horrible. Of course, like everyone would believe that. Why wouldn't bank fucking founders be doing weird shit? Like it totally makes sense. Yeah, money is cool. I think more people will realize that it can easily be used as like a force for positivity. Um, but who knows, man? I will say, you know, a lot of people, you see this divide very quickly with crypto. Like I used to consider myself a pretty left leaning person. I would probably not consider myself that anymore. There are a lot of people on like the left who just think money is bad. It's just like a bad thing that is used by rich people to do bad things. And they should give that money to other people because that's more fair and better. And it's just like, that's not how shit works. Like I wish it worked just as simply as that, but that is just not, if that's your approach, you're essentially like tying your hands behind your back and saying like I don't want to participate in the thing that is clearly driving a large part of this world. Like don't do that. Even if you fucking hate it, be a Robin Hood. Go participate, use the system to get what you need, and then use it on the shit you think it should be used on. Show people what it should be used for. If you think Jeff Bezos is an asshole, Elon Musk's an asshole because they're trying to go to space and shit, what would you do with all of that money? What's your plan? And then if you don't have a plan, probably just don't get so mad at
I
them because
get
they
the
have a
anger
plan. You
though,
don't agree.
because the people saying that probably are exhausted. They're getting paid nothing and having to work, and it seems like it's quicksand, and they can't catch a break. And then everywhere you look, you see Elon Musk, Billie Eilish. You see someone like killing it.
Someone super
Yeah.
wealthy.
So
Or even like me, if I'm sure I come off at times when I'm talking about this shit is like ridiculous and like braggadocious. But like the point is the reason I talk, it's the same reason I talk about the imagination shit, you know, when I do, is this is accessible to anyone and everyone. You do not need a fuckload of money to participate in any of this. A lot of people over the past year invested hardly anything, but then got airdrops from participating in various like protocols and things. Airdrops are just money dropped into your
what?
wallet,
How?
and some of them were worth, you like, if you had used Uniswap, a decentralized exchange, or Sushi Swap,
Do you know
or a
what's
lot
going
of these
on right
other
now? Sorry to interrupt, but it's
no, no,
it
no.
truly is a new internet, because the amount of like little services, games, and terms that you use, and I'm not even like a tech idiot. I consider myself tech savvy. I just
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
really spent a lot of time in that world, but there's so many things happening and growing that I don't even know the terms of, what I have to go look at the terms later. So
Yeah, and I mean, that should probably be an indicator to most people that there's something brewing there, and like it's not just this weird manic gambling rush to get
it's
rich quick.
both.
Like there's shit.
Completely both.
If there's don't get me wrong, like I am the worst degenerate ape at any given time. I'll throw fucking money at things that are outright scams knowing they're scams. It's just at the end of the day, there's there's always been enough in crypto for me to believe that this isn't just a scam, that it's not just something that's designed to separate, you know, stupid people from their money. I've always believed that, and I think the more you kind of notice how things go as time passes, it gets easier to believe. Like I said, in 5 years, like this won't be a question about like, hey, like, you know, what do we think is going to happen? It's going to be like, hey, like we did that. Like this new one does this. Did you hear about that? Oh, our friends started this and now we use this for that. Like it's going
No
to
one
be,
said
I
sorry when
believe,
they said the internet was a fad. Those people are still just around, and there's clips of them,
yeah.
and no one ever brought it up that that was wrong.
No,
Yeah.
they're still around. It was like Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer was like making fun of Bill Gates or something on like a fucking, or David Letterman. Like, you know, people were actually like, David Letterman's kind of cool, and he was shitting on this stuff. Like it's just, you don't see it coming until it's already a thing. And luckily this time we have enough people who, like, I don't talk about crypto at this point to like really convince anyone. It's the same reason I talk about the imagination shit. It's like I found some shit that very well may just change your fucking life. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm saying I sure as shit wish someone would have fucking knocked down my door and told me it. So like that's the only like lore like appeal of it right now. And like you do see how it helps people because like again like I don't know, like maybe there are people who just have transcended the idea of money, you know, completely, but like that shit is a part of our lives. Like it is just inexorably a part of our lives, whether we like it, love it, hate it, need it, don't have it, have too much of it, you
If
know,
you
whatever it
transcend
is.
it,
Like,
you're still using other people's the way that do you have any
yeah,
friends like that don't have a cell phone at all, but you find that they're always using someone else's cell phone. They don't have one, but it's like, "Hey, can I use yours? Just need to make this quick call." So it's the same.
it's like,
That's like Maharaji
it's
didn't
like,
have a bank account, but I bet the people surrounding him had that and then gave it
that's
to
the
him.
thing. And that's that weird thing, like when we talk about like the gurus and things like that, like they knew this shit. Like Maharaji or whoever was there isn't unaware that there's a vast system conspiring to help support him. Like everywhere he went, like he didn't even like it, they're feeding him food. Like he recognizes there are resources being literally devoted to him. So it's like you just like don't fight that. This shit is like an illusory weird hologram that like who the fuck knows what's going on. Like don't get too caught up in like the systems and mechanics because like you know, it just like I don't know. Money seems to be a hack still for a lot of people, and it won't solve all your problems at all. It really doesn't. There are some things it just cannot fix or help or do. There are many things that can serve that function, but there are some like it's just it's not allowed to tamper with that energy. So don't make that mistake. But like, you know, I do think there are enough people out there who are really suffering when it comes to money. Like I've seen that. So I've been one of those people. I get it, and I think if that could be one less thing you're worrying about when there's like a whole lot of other shit going on, it's pretty good. It's
Hell
pretty helpful.
yeah.
It's gonna help you out.
Yeah, we'll see it. Let's see what I can do about that and see if I will perpetuate my pattern again and if there's something that I love doing about that or whether I want to make a
I mean,
switch into the
I'll tell you this. I at a certain point, I'll just keep giving you large enough sums of money where you'll be like, all right, I think something's changing. I mean, because this is literally like what I've been doing with my friends. And it's hilarious to me to see like
I'll
the
send you my
spectrum
wallet
of
address.
how
I won't say anything to do
yeah.
with it, but I'll just have it there. Maybe I'll send a framed version of it to your house and then you can just look
Yeah,
at it.
no, don't make me fucking type it out. I'll fucking kill you. If it's like a QR code I can scan, I'll do it. Don't make it difficult. But like it's interesting when like you give money to people because you see the wide range of responses people have. Like some people are like, no one is like, yeah, I'll take it, give it to me right now. I want all of it. Give me as much as you can. But there are levels of people's like resistance to it. Some people are like, what can I do for it? What can I give you for it? Or I'll pay you back. And like they're weird if you say you don't have to. And some people are like, you know, politely saying no, but you can see they really need it and are cool enough to know that I wouldn't be offering it if I couldn't give it. And so like I'm like, you know, with this much help, and they go, oh, you know, like it's cool to see. And then you realize like this shit genuinely helps other people. I know there are points in my time if someone came up to me and was like, hey, like, do you need like 10 grand? You know, I probably would be like, no, like, and I'd turn it down. No, not like because like I would say don't give it to me, but I'd say like no, like I feel uncomfortable with someone giving me $10,000. But at this point, knowing how it feels that if I'm offering to give someone money, like of course someone should take it. Like, well, why wouldn't you? You'd have to be crazy not to, because like if someone is saying here's no strings attached and you know that they really don't give a fuck, that's how this shit should work. And I do see more of I'm not the only one doing this. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it on probably a much smaller scale than a lot of other people. And that to me probably does more to help the situation right now than anything else. Not just the money aspect of it, but just like being generous and knowing that your cup will be refilled over and over again, not in some like delusional way, but actually witnessing it happening. That helps people make better decisions, I think, in life, or hopefully it
Oh, for
should. But
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
when the financial boot is off your neck, you actually think straight. It's like post nut clarity type of
yeah,
phenomenon.
it is. It really is. It really is. And that's like, I just don't want people to miss that because like, I know it, like it's probably like ridiculous because people will be like, of course I get that, but like you really like just imagine what it would feel like. And I think that's the most important thing. And this is what I had to do before I saw like any evidence of money coming in. There was a lot of times where I didn't necessarily know that it was, but I had imagined it. You just have to imagine what it feels like to not have to worry about money. That's it. Doesn't mean you have a shitload of money. You just don't have to worry about it. You could be down to your last fucking cent. If you're not worried about it, rest assured something will happen. And like that, it's a powerful trigger, I think, for bending the reality
Yeah,
of
I
this
think we've
place.
revisited this metaphor before, but it would be like air, where hopefully you can one day you just breathe in as much air as you want, and then you also breathe it out. But you're never thinking about like, oh, I hope you don't know where your next breath is coming from, but you just assume that it's there. You can always inhale, exhale. Same with water. And where we're lucky enough, like
Yeah,
I'm never worried about the water not coming out of the faucet or out of the.
exactly. It's a really good metaphor for it because like that's how you have to view all, you don't have to, if you view all energy like that of which money is a part of, like it becomes a more natural and organic part of your life. And I think when we make any of this stuff too artificial, that's when it gets like weird, and like money feels like it's an abstraction. It's not like a natural law, but it is something that we've weaved into our lives and nevertheless can use as a neutral
And
tool.
yeah,
um
the new forms are
yeah,
actually, now that I'm thinking about it, are very excited that for the longest time money was gold bar, silver circle,
yeah,
green paper with scary looking people with wigs and slave
yeah,
teeth and like mysterious monuments with an eye on it. Now it's a picture of an ass,
yeah.
it's a picture of a dog, it's a picture of like it's anything. It can be a picture of
it's
anything.
it's in it. That's And like the silliness of this shit should be embraced. You don't want idiots representing the NFT and crypto space because that doesn't help anyone with mainstream adoption. But the silliness of this shit, it I don't know how to describe it. I think money should be silly. It's inherently a silly concept. It's like a very silly thing to do. It's like, well, how do we get that from that? Like, what do we do to make these things equal? We make stuff and we give it to each other because we decide that's worth. Like, it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous concept, but it's one that's so deeply embedded in our psyches and way of being that like it's anything but ridiculous to us. It's very serious business. If we don't pay our rent, we get kicked the fuck out of our place. Like it's a serious thing. So like if you can bring it back to like these pictures of cartoon animals are now worth fucking $12 million, that should wake people's psyches up to the ridiculousness of this. And when you see it's ridiculous, you then have like the freedom to be silly. And then you watch when things are silly and playful, you get that Page of Cups energy, and like stuff starts getting a little more gamified and more like fun. You can start making money from crabs and chickens
I
and
wonder if
God
I could
knows
make
what.
a game or if that would be too expensive of a thing
I do want
to
to.
do.
So I will say this. Um, I think there's a lot of so I started this token drugs on
Year
Binance
ago,
Smart
right?
Chain, and the developer, yeah, God, and it's been a real nightmare. Like the developer, he bless his heart, he's a really nice guy, but he's like he was just overwhelmed and he couldn't like deliver a lot of the things that he's supposed to be delivering. But I still have it on my radar, and I want to develop a game that we could do. And I have the funds to like fund the development of a cool game that could be like psychedelic related and have like a gaming aspect of it. But I would want to do it right. You know what I mean? Like I would really
How
want to
does it
have this
work?
like be a
Elevator
serious.
pitch, pie in the sky version in your head.
I would like a gamified, like one of the trends right now, and we'll see if it continues to be a trend, is a game on Harmony One blockchain called DeFi Kingdoms, which is like this RPG style game where you go on quests and you buy these heroes. But what you're essentially doing is accumulating in-game resources that have real world value. So this jewel token was like $2, now it's like $20, and you earn jewel in this variety of ways. There's an in-game marketplace and ecosystem, just like any RPG. So something along the lines where we create either like an RPG or like a world where you can exchange, you know, like digital drugs for each other and level up, and then have that be a part of yield. So if you're growing weed, you can sell like the weed to someone for the in-game currency, which is pegged to like a value of something else. Like it would be a real concept that I'd want to like sit down and flesh out. But like just something that's visually appealing, that looks cool, is fun to play, and creates a community of people who are invested in it. That's how all of these things make money anyway. It's not like there's one key thing. It's just a community of people who are like, all right, this is fun. We're going to do this. This is worth something. Whereas like the old video game model is like, we buy a game from fucking Blizzard or, Activision or whoever. We pay $60. We play the game. Maybe we buy some extra shit. It goes all to the company. We don't get shit. It's now being flipped around. So by participating, we actually make money and the token value goes up. So hopefully the people who develop the game share that token and they make more money as we make more money, which is what's happening now. So something along
Wouldn't that
those
be
lines.
so awesome? Where instead of having to go work at, Ross or something, you could go solve Zelda puzzles or play a little
For real, like
Tammany Hall version of something. But at the same time, yeah, I want to still, not everything has to do this, but you don't want to just end up being the type of money making thing where you're just selling each other's houses back to each other and you're not building.
don't worry about that though, like, because here's the thing. That's like, you could say that though ultimately about anything that you pay money for. You know what I mean? Like, we could argue that like no one really needs a laundry machine, like a washing machine. Like no one really needs a dryer.
Actually, I do
We
need a
could
new dryer.
theoretically Yeah, no, I mean, like, the point is that, like, these are things that we have said are worth value, that they're worth something to us, and at a certain point, like you're finding out now, is worthless. It's not working the way it's intended to work, so it loses its value. So, like, you could paint that picture that, like, it's not, we're just trading things back and forth. Like, you're just trading money for another washing machine. You're just trading wood for another dryer. If it's fun and it's entertaining and people are getting rewarded for that, all I know is that's a more equitable system than like buying something from like a conglomerate or a big corporation where you're giving them money and and that's fair too. Like whenever I buy a Final Fantasy, I'm happy with the value exchange, right? It's 60, $70 for 100 hours of gameplay. I break that down by the hour. I'm totally with it. However, if I could also play Final Fantasy and own my in-game items and be able to sell those for real world things, like that's even more fun and everyone can win like that. It's just going to be a redistribution. But like the gaming shit seems to have the most potential because it is entertainment. That's something that people are willing to pay for. Like if that's an easy decision. Am I willing to pay for this? Is it worth the money I'm willing to pay? That's it. That's all it is. Like there's nothing more than that. So
Yeah,
it kind of solves that issue of like trading things back and forth.
I'm into that. I think another note on the washing machine thing, it's more, how do I put this? George Hodge was talking about money can only buy power over people. And like the way he was breaking it down through that lens, it did make sense. Like everything you do is you're just buying someone else's time or a thing they're trading. And he's like, I don't want power over people. I want power over nature. I want to build stuff to where like everyone can have like a magic sink that does the dishes for them. And yeah, maybe you'll get an even nicer apartment, but I'd love for the baseline to just be raised up. So
I think that's gonna happen. I just see that happening through like communal, not like communes, but like again, like if our crew, if all my friends are able to like improve the quality of their lives because there's funding either from themselves or someone with else, and like that only gets people to a better place over time. And everyone has different priorities, right? Like my base level of living, my standards may be radically different from someone who's happy like living in a yurt in nature. Like that sounds great. Like, I like to go visit and like camp in a tent for like a day or two, but I don't want that to be my fucking life. Sorry, that's just not for me. But for someone else, that might be their idea of heaven, like, so it's just, there's enough here to accommodate everyone's different like layers. But I think everyone should have the ability to live life to like a basic standard of comfort, right? I just like a basic standard of like, this is like, you should always aspire, not always, but you can aspire to more, but like no one should be suffering in their immediate environment. We should clearly try to eliminate that. I mean, I think homelessness is like, if I'm ever going to, not if I'm ever, when like philanthropy really starts calling for me, like homelessness is something I genuinely, because it's so stupid. It's just like a dumb fucking thing. And I don't presuppose that everyone who's homeless wants to have a home. Some people fucking function like that. And they like, I've hung out with homeless people at various stages in my life. that is just a lifestyle for some people. It's not like they're these poor, despondent street rats who have been abandoned as orphans. Like that's just where they're comfortable living. They don't fit in within the margins of society for people. But for the most part, like everyone should have the choice of whether they live in fucking a house or
Yeah,
not. Like
those people that chose, they would
that's crazy.
probably still like if like they got a hot shower,
The
yeah,
option.
every now and then.
The option. Yeah, like I can go to this place, and take a shower. Exactly. But yeah, man, I'm very optimistic about where me and my friends and like the community who resonates with the idea that we shape our own our realities seems I'm feeling pretty good about where things are headed in the next few years, even if they're very turbulent, which they probably will be. But uh, it's too much good shit going on.
I think
Like,
Jess had
legitimately,
told us it would be 10 years of turbulence.
I can't. I mean, that's too much. I'm sorry. I refuse. I'll tell her flat out. We got to revise this. We have to get together, revise this plan. Can we knock it down to like 3?
We're already at 3.
I'll accept
We already
4.
at 3. You mean 3 more?
No, this is it. I'm done. 2022 needs to be the end of it. 2023, we can focus on some other shit.
I'd love for that to be true, but
I mean,
also we are clouded by like the beginning of the year every year. It's like new year. This is going to be the one where and then it's like April, all of a sudden you're like, okay, 2023 though. That's going to be the year.
I'll be honest though. I don't feel like that this year. 2022 just felt like more 2021 to me. There was that flip over did not feel like the regular flip over into a new year. It was just like, what? We're doing more of this shit? I really I think someone described this year as being the highs are going to be higher, but the lows are also going to be lower. And that's what I said. I said, fuck that. I was like, I'll take same level of highs. Just don't go
let's
any
clip
lower.
the
Like, I don't
bottom.
need more.
Let's put a limiter on just the bottom frequency there.
Filter it out. I don't need that because I mean, I do think there's enough good though to balance out like the difficult shit. And again, I mean, not to harp on it too much, but I do think money and financial like independence. I don't know what's going on with the planets, with like Venus and Mercury and these planets that have like a big hand in financial matters, but I would imagine something pretty potent because shit is about to change so fast for so many people.
Already
It's
has.
Like
I haven't driven by a downtown LA in a while, and as I'm driving by the big stadio, it's already called the Crypto.com Arena. And it used to be whatever, the Staples Center, the Minute Maid Ball, whatever it was. Now it's Crypto.com. So it's beyond mainstream now. It's SNL is joking about it. People have it tattooed on their face. It's not a maybe anymore. It's past the Beanie Baby phase.
I would say there's still probably at least a few years where you can make a shitload of money relatively easily as like a retail investor, like you and me, someone who's not going in with like, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. There's a window here still where it's not going to be like none of this shit is easy. I don't want to make it sound like it's fucking easy at any given point. It can be easy, but like you got to hold and you got to make decisions when you're bleeding out and you got to not get freaked out and you got to not panic and you got to, have conviction on the good things and make sure that when those good things actually aren't good things, you can recognize it. But I think there's just still so much opportunity out there and these communities that have formed that share and pool information related to this stuff. All of my wins over the past year and a half, like all of my big, like game changing wins have come from friends and like vice versa. That's
in what way? They're like, hey, buy
works.
some of this. This is going to pop.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, I got a tip from this person that this thing is launching. Here's something that's going to happen. And sometimes they don't pan out.
What's
sometimes
the biggest
they do,
loss? What's your biggest loss you've had?
The biggest loss, I mean, I've lost like $10,000 to $15,000 in multiple scams where they're just like straight rug pulls, which suck. I think my biggest
where it goes to
loss,
zero and there's no coming back.
Well, that was one I had. I had one where I invested like 7,000 and then it went up to 56,000. Then they literally rug pulled it down to zero.
In one day?
And then weirdly one day, one instant. And then that project weirdly got resurrected by a community member. And then I broke even because like that value of this other token they created started gaining value. But my worst loss probably was in 2017 when I made a shitload of money. I turned like $10,000-15,000 into like 150 grand, 170 grand, but then held it up at like 170 and watched like it crash all the way
Pigs
back
get
down. So I
slaughtered.
lost like 80 to 90%. Yeah, and it was brutal. This time, so many people have like PTSD over what happened then that I think they've been just kind of getting like chopped out in this turbulence. I, for whatever reason, just intuitively trust myself to know the difference of holding on too long and knowing like that there's still opportunity here. And I've been lucky that I've been right and made enough good moves where like I'm positioned pretty well for what I think is going to be another big kind of run up at some point in 2022. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just like you're going to lose, you're going to win. All you can do is just stabilize your emotions through all of that and then like try to use whatever tools you have to just like get what you feel like you deserve. And that's a tough line for a lot of people. A lot of people don't feel like they're deserving of hundreds
That's
of
the
millions of
key.
dollars.
That's the main thing.
It really is. And like, I heard Jessica say this about me and it is true. Like, I guess I'm either a narcissist or whatever. Like, I genuinely feel like I deserve billions
That's
of
such a
dollars. Like,
great,
I
like,
feel
yeah,
like
we always talk about that with you, and you're the number one example of like being receptive to the abundance of the universe. If
I
a
just
dump
feel like
truck
it.
broke
I don't know
down in front of
why.
your house with $1 billion and your name on it, you wouldn't ask questions.
No, I just feel like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, here it is. This is a pretty ridiculous way for this to happen. Like, and I don't know how to describe that. It's not like I feel like I deserve it and no one else deserves it. It's just like, why wouldn't I? Like, why wouldn't that be like, I'm sure I can figure out a benevolent way to use it. I'm sure I can figure out a fun and cool way to use it. So like, why would I say
It's
I'm
your
not that? Like,
superpower.
because
Like I don't know
it's
if
pretty
it's
good.
your only superpower, but if we are like giving each other main superpowers, it totally is one. And I can tap into that, but when I do, I'm doing an impression of you. I use you as my like kind of like, you're playing this one guitar part and you're like doing an impression of John
A
Frusciante
lick,
or
yeah.
Jimmy. You're not being you. You're like, this is kind of what he would do. When I think like that, I'm like, what would Noah do? How would Noah open up to
Yeah, but
this?
because and you know what the truth is like everyone is deserving of whatever they feel like they're deserving of. And I know that doesn't make it easy for people to feel like there are people who just genuinely don't feel they're capable of deserving love from someone else. And those people have very difficult times in relationships. And some people don't have a problem with that at all, but it's applied to money. It's just like there is no limit imposed on any one person in terms of what they're deserving of. That's just true. Both ways. The worst of the hells, the greatest of heavens. It's just recognize you get to modulate that dial more than you think, and then you have a little more freedom. It's like the radio tuning analogy. Like you can tune it to what you actually want to listen to. You don't have to stay on some shit that you don't really like if you don't like it. So everyone's deserving of anything. That's like I don't know. I guess it was psychedelics or a natural aptitude for it, but I do like I genuinely if there's something that it's hard for me to think of something like where I'd be like if I really like it was a desire where I wouldn't feel like I'm not deserving of it. Like I can't actually like that's it's kind of fucked up, I guess, but like and I guess that's why I get like these weird experiences in life that are just like dreamlike and don't make a lot of sense, but like I would encourage everyone to try to live their life like that just because you do get this broader spectrum of experience, which if that's what you're interested in,
Yeah.
it's a
I
good
think
way to get
people
it.
look at it as narcissism because they see themselves as like the amount of denial I would have to impose on myself to be in that state. This man is probably doing that. Therefore, this is a sociopath. But it's your
Yeah.
natural state, which is why it's a superpower. You don't have to overcome the PTSD that other people have of it. You're PTSD
And I
free.
would say like and I will say, like, definitely had to work through layers at points in my life to feel deserving of certain states of being. Like, it's not like this is an ever present all the time experience for my entire life, especially growing up, as like kids and stuff. Like, you do have to get through some of the bullshit, of course. But then, like, once you kind of see that, like, it's a choice at the end of the day, also, you have to really believe yourself to be like a good person, not like you're the perfect person, you never do anything wrong, but you have to believe that like if you had billions of dollars, like you wouldn't fuck it up. You wouldn't use it for some like nefarious person or become like a Mr. Scrooge type of piece of shit. Like you just like, you have to like trust yourself on a deep level. Either that or be a sociopath, of course. Like then you just don't give a shit. And then like that obviously works too. But there's not a lot of sociopaths, true sociopaths who I can see who reach those levels of kind of like manifestation, like where it's like you can tell they're really like enjoying it. Like there may be people who have accumulated a lot and manifested a lot and they're sociopaths, but you can tell that's not like a pleasurable existence for them. There is some kind of disconnect from being connected to the emotions that would allow someone to appreciate, you know, having these things. So yeah, man, it's everyone's.
Yeah. See, we went from the vaccine world to the abundance world. We transitioned.
It's clearly like you've interviewed me on my podcast again.
I mean, what do I have to say?
You got a lot of shit to say, but I'll interview you.
Oh, that'll be funny.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. We always have, I feel like, the most refreshing conversations. And
you're always different, and you always have a thing you're excited about, and it changes from time to time. And I think that's good because you exhaust what that is. But yeah, with each year, like if I try to talk to 2019 Noah, you're still in there, but he's not there anymore. You've moved on to another thing, but it is the same tune underneath it all, and it's inspiring. It inspires you to try new things without the fear of it.
Which I think is like also one of the things that you're really good at is kind of like de-theorizing things that probably people think about, you know, and don't express. Like that is like the resonant component of not just like your art, but like that's like super important. Cause I think like the more we can do to kind of like get people to not be so afraid and freaked out, like that is probably the biggest act of service anyone could be providing right now. And it's not like we consciously think about that shit, but like, you know, if you're able to like not be freaked out all the time, I think that's worthy of sharing with people. Like, sure, shit, we get enough of the other stuff. Yeah. So,
and also to put a button on this, I will say that I think in 2017 you told me and you told everybody, look, if you just buy a little bit of crypto every now and then, you'll be happier for it. And if people followed that advice, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. It happened.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm telling you, like, we're at the point, dude, where like we don't even have to worry about that. Like, I'm just basically making people like, I'm giving people money to do certain things so they can like learn the basic subset of skills where like I could be like, hey, I'm giving you $5,000. I'm going to tell you to buy some shit. Buy it when I tell you to buy it because you know how to do it. You're going to turn that 5,000 into like 50,000.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's do it. Cool. I'm going to send you my wallet. Yeah, it's going to be great. Cool, and yeah,
please do. USDC. Awesome, dude.
Wait.
Thanks for listening to that episode. I should stop thanking you for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I assume if you're here at the end, you did enjoy it. Go check out Ramin on his Instagram. He puts out the awesome art stuff. It's super good. We're going to cajole him into doing NFTs. He's going to see it's not bad. He is not selling out. It is cool stuff. His podcast, Rainbow Brain Skull, his other podcast he does with Shane Moss, Mind Under Pod. Definitely go check those out. Just a cool dude, always just like a lifelong friend. You know, you can just tell. You can tell. Yeah. Cool dude. Special stuff going on. Just no special stuff. It's just fucking Patreon with the crypto sync. I pop in when I can. Life has been throwing me curveballs of fucking striking out on some of them, blasting them for home runs, some of the other ones. Just how it is. A little bit of up and down energy, no big deal. We'll try to get rocking on some of these live streams. I know I keep teasing them. It just becomes incredibly difficult. You know, 3 kids, 2 different women. You know how it is. Not the easiest of roads to hoe sometime. Probably the wrong choice of words there. But shit is, I feel like as we wind into spring, we should get more of that kind of effervescent energy, which I seem to pick up on and gives me a lot more energy to do this type of stuff. But right now it's been kind of survival, perseverance mode, and it's hard to get some content done. So, but you guys understand, I can tell from the constant stream of subscribers on the Patreon and the numbers whenever I do release a podcast that you guys are still listening and you still care, and I appreciate it very much. So until the next time I release one of these, probably in a week or so, I love you. Bye-bye.